The time has come for lions to tell I and I own story. Yes, you're listening to Lion's Voice. I and I is Dejazmatch hailing from the island of St. Croix. Yeah, man, bringing to you Rastafari vibes. Can you feel it? Rastafari. Babylon born when Rasta come together. Can you feel it? Rastafari, because Babylon done when I and I come together. Look how we live together, look how we work together, Oh, Babylon done when Rasta come together. Hail I, Rastafari, His Majesty and Empress men in bless. Yeah man, hailing from St. Croix, Rastafari, I hear you. Love,
Aye.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari, live it. Hey, the lion's voice, Rastafari.
In terms of the overall Rastafari presence, were there any people with locks at all when His Majesty visited in '66? Were there any visible Rastafari in Trinidad during
Yes, yes, there were visible Rastafari. There were one or two, but as I say, they were not fully established.
Okay.
But there were brethren families who were Rastafari at that point in time. I mean, as a kid, I saw Rastas, but not to the volume, as an established community at that point in time. However, significantly, after the visit of His Majesty, Trinidad became the second largest Rastafari population in the Caribbean.
The year is 1892, and the land of Ethiopia has been experiencing 4 years of terrible famine and drought. They call it the Kikuken, or the evil days. At least 1/3 of the human population and 90% of the cattle have died. The hyenas have feasted on so many carcasses that they have become overweight and barely able to move. Just when the people could take no more of the evil days, a woman named Wasiro Yeshimabet is giving birth in a place called Erjersa Gora. This is her 9th attempt to bring forth new life. Her previous 8 attempts only resulted in death. Will this child live? Thankfully, a healthy baby boy is born. His first cries are drowned by thunder and lightning flashes across the night sky. The heavens open up and torrential rain starts to fall. Ethiopia's drought is over, and the baby boy is given the name Tafari, meaning one to be feared or respected. Tafari's father, Ras Tafari, is a very important man in 1892 Ethiopia. Although he is overjoyed at the birth of his newborn son, he cannot spend much time with him. Ras Tafari is the governor of Harar and must get back to the famous walled city to deal with its affairs. Furthermore, he is the foreign minister of Ethiopia, and having traveled to different places in Europe, he is very aware of the material and military advances they have made and the looming threats they pose to his country. Ras Tafari knows that the majority of Ethiopians have no idea what is coming, and that he has to work that much harder to secure the realm. Tafari would grow up to become the legendary emperor, Haile Selassie I. To understand his journey, we must first understand the Ethiopia that he was inheriting, and what it was like when he was born in 1892. Get your copy of Kwasi Bansu's book, Haile Selassie I, Ethiopia, Volume 1, The Rise of the Priestly Warrior Kings, and increase your knowledge about the history, politics, and culture of Ethiopia in 1892, and how it connects to the rest of African and world history at the time. Haile Selassie I, Ethiopia, Volume 1 is available for purchase at www.bookmanexpress.pub. Please visit for more information.
In terms of the overall Rastafari presence? Were there any people with locks at all when His Majesty visited in '66? Were there any visible Rastafari in Trinidad during that?
Yes, yes, there were visible Rastafari. There were one or two, but as I say, they were not fully established.
Okay.
But there were brethren families who were Rastafari at that point in time. I mean, as a kid, I saw Rastas, but not to the volume, as an established community at that point in time. However, significantly, after the visit of His Majesty, Trinidad became the second largest Rastafari population in the Caribbean.
Okay. So it's an explosion of consciousness.
Yeah, because you see, during the time prior to when His Majesty came, there were strikes. There were strikes, strikes, oil field strikes, and all these things because Trinidad is an oil community. And from Turaya Buzz Butler in fighting for the minimum wage that caused the whole Caribbean, go right up the Caribbean, to organize a better standard of wage for workers. All this was in the pipeline. And then from there, the Black Power movement. When the Black Power movement was dissolved after 1970, you had the National Union of Freedom Fighters. So after the National Union of Freedom Fighters, those guerrillas who were fully African conscious became the next rise of Rastafari begin.
Okay.
These were Rastafari, these brethren started came in and Rastafari started because the ganja culture and consciousness, conscious African reasoning became more apparent and more vivid among folks on the block.
Okay.
So here.
So there I know Ras Tafari.
Yeah, I know Ras Tafari before he even not up. Sekou Tafari was a brethren. I used to buy books. But at the time I buy books, Sekou didn't used to sell books yet. I used to buy books from my brother across the bridge called Marvin. However, Sekou started the book business, a very brilliant brethren.
Yes.
Sekou, together with a brother who died. This brother who died, he was a...
Shango Bako?
Not Shango. I work with Shango. Shango used to work with General Montul Alibaba in producing the first Rastafari magazine called Rastafari Speaks.
Yes.
However, Sekou used to work with Brother Resistance.
Okay.
A brilliant Rastaman too. A brilliant brethren. And so they started to work in the mall, and Sekou started the books business. They started with a kind of dupwet, and then they went into more Rastafari books. But I know the brethren well, a very powerful, intelligent brother.
Yes. We've had him on this platform, on this very program. So we give thanks. I really want to document the history of Trinidad and the brethren and sisters in Trinidad. We do a lot of Jamaica content here, but I'm letting the family know we're going to do a lot of Trinidad content because, as you say, in the Caribbean, Trinidad probably have the second largest Rastafari community,
Yeah.
So we have to bridge that gap and make that unity because right now, you see what the elder started the episode with, Revelation 18. We're going to come forward to that. So I want to jump into the topic. Tonight is April 18th. We're commemorating His Majesty visit to the Caribbean. This visit would change the course of history in the Caribbean. The most significant visit of a world leader to a region in recorded human history. I'm putting these things out there. The King of Kings coming to the diaspora. In Jamaica, they always told the elders, your God never going to come, you dirty Rasta, you live in a dump and these things. So when people saw that His Majesty actually came to Jamaica, that was a line in the sand that really elevated Rastafari, into Jamaican society where they didn't have to go on the gully bank they were in the buildings. The first time a Rastafari ever stepped foot in a government building was under direct request of the King of Kings. You know, the highest himself really came and extended that. We know all of that history, most of us. What we don't know is the important role that Trinidad played, Dr. Eric Williams and these things, and there's no better person to really give us this full history and to understand why His Majesty came to the Caribbean, what was happening with the larger Pan-African struggle. So April 18th, talk to us about the significance and Trinidad role, and let us dive into this visit.
Yes, the role that Trinidad played in the visit of His Majesty the Caribbean is very, 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 very significant. We take our first step is that the visit of His Majesty to the Caribbean was initiated by the then Prime Minister, Dr. Eric Eustace Williams, who visited Ethiopia visited Africa, and particularly Ethiopia, in the midsummer of 1965. Derek Williams at that time was a Harvard diplomat. He wrote many books like Capitalism and Slavery and all these different things. He was a very, powerful brother. And he initiated the Caribbean visit, which is with His Majesty to the Caribbean. And so one of the things while initiating the visit of His Majesty to the Caribbean, we must take into consideration that Trinidad and Tobago had links with Ethiopia even before His Majesty visited, even before Dr. Eric Williams visited Ethiopia in the midsummer of 1965. Because the Ethiopian Orthodox Church in Trinidad and Tobago was in Trinidad and Tobago since 1956. Was here since 1956. So the church was here very early. So all these were, characteristics that had His Majesty very much interesting in terms of the Caribbean visit.
Well, I am the generation of those that chose to see the face of the great I Am. With the Emperor Haile Selassie I, King Rastafari of Ethiopia, well, He's the Almighty Creator, in flesh and in bone, and He's seated upon King David's throne. Well, I and I came to tell the nation on the microphone.
Yo, let them know righteousness is here to conquer. The Bingy King trample down those evilest monsters. Mussolini, he's getting burnt up like ganja. Our nation needs to get stronger. Give thanks, our locks is getting longer. The angel revealed the scriptures, the number 6, verse 5. My antenna channeling the heights of the Most High. Crown King of King, Lord of Lords. Now you do the math, Rastafari, comfort. I and I with the staff. Children of Israel, make sure you step on the right path. It's the 21st century, the wicked about to feel the wrath of the Ancient of Days. Emperor Haile Selassie I, pure in all his ways. That's why I Kwasi and I praise the Nyahbinghi King. Let the children know the salvation Nyahbinghi bring. Yo, it's conscious hip-hop music, strictly for the king. For those who don't know, it's a Nyahbinghi thing, hailing the
Nyahbinghi King, Nyahbinghi King, with the scepter lightning. Nyahbinghi King, Nyahbinghi King, Nyahbinghi King, with the scepter lightning. Fire, Bingy King, fire, Bingy King, fire, Bingy King, earthquake lightning. Nyahbinghi King, Nyahbinghi King, Nyahbinghi King, with the scepter lightning.
Tell him about Selassie I. Terrible and dreadful, with a head full of sheep wool. Babylon, you better keep cool, cause he rules. Earth is just his footstool. You think you somebody, but you're only just his tool. Whirlpools, whirlwinds, blow away their sins. Instead of following the shepherd, they were following trends. We set the judgment, they killed too many innocent. Now they got to feel the wrath of the omnipotent, omniscient king with the scepter lightning. From the birds to the creeping things, all hail him. Selassie I, guide I and I, provide for I and I, live inside I and I, so we can't die. Must live eternal I, up in Mount Zion I, side by the Most High. Nyahbinghi King, King of all kings. Can't forget Queen Omega with the scepter lightning.
Nyahbinghi King, Nyahbinghi King, Nyahbinghi King, with the scepter lightning. Nyahbinghi King, Nyahbinghi King, Nyahbinghi King, with the scepter lightning. Selassie bring the judgment on my enemies. Remember we the Hebrew that you claim to be.